Someone brushes past your arm, just barely. The lightest contact, sleeve against sleeve, the kind of accidental touch that happens 100 times a day in a crowded world and full, quite frequently, that most people don't even register. You register it. Not because you're dramatic, not because you're anxious, because that contact, that feather-light, completely incidental brush of fabric against your skin, sent a signal through your nervous system that your brain interpreted as pain, real pain, disproportionate, immediate, unmistakable pain from a sleeve. Now imagine that your joints ache, not because you've been running, not because you're injured, just ache, a deep, dull, relentless ache that has been present every single morning for so long, you can no longer remember what waking up without it felt like. Imagine that you are exhausted in a way that sleep does not fix, that you slept 8 hours and woke up feeling like you hadn't slept at all, and that this has been true for months, for years, and that no amount of rest touches it. Imagine that your brain, sharp, capable, yours, sometimes moves through fog so thick you lose words mid-sentence and forget what you walked into a room for and read the same paragraph 3 times without retaining a single word. Now imagine going to a doctor with all of this and being told, "We can't find anything wrong." And then imagine going to another doctor and another and having test after test come back normal while the pain continues and the exhaustion continues and the fog continues. And slowly, insidiously, the medical system communicates something it never quite says out loud. Maybe this is in your head. This is fibromyalgia, and this is what it actually feels like to live inside it, and inside a world that still can't decide whether to believe it. Right now, today, the word fibromyalgia is trending on social media with a debate that has been running for decades and shows no signs of resolution. Is it real? Doctors, patients, and commentators are clashing online. Some medical voices claiming fibromyalgia doesn't exist as a distinct disease, patients firing back that the condition is brutal, confusing, and isolating, and that dismissing it leaves millions feeling invalidated. Here's what the science actually says. Fibromyalgia is characterized by widespread pain, fatigue, cognitive difficulties, often called fibrofog, and sleep disturbances. It is not an autoimmune condition. It is not inflammatory in the traditional sense. It is a disorder of pain processing, the nervous system amplifying pain signals in the absence of tissue damage, turning the volume dial on sensation so high that ordinary input registers as agony. It is real, measurable, neurologically distinct, and it remains one of the most dismissed, doubted, and misunderstood conditions in modern medicine. You wake up before the alarm, and your first conscious thought is an inventory. Hands, stiff, swollen feeling, though they won't look swollen because the swelling isn't that kind. Shoulders, a deep ache, like someone spent the night pressing down on them. Lower back, present, always present, the constant background hum of a body that hurts at rest. You lie still for a moment, not because you're lazy, but because you've learned that the transition from horizontal to vertical needs to be managed. Moving too fast triggers a G-glide. The one day the next day to sell, you give your body time to negotiate with the day before the day begins. The shower is warm, not hot, because heat can spike the sensitivity, and this morning already feels like a fragile day. You stand under the water and something strange happens. That happens most mornings. It feels simultaneously soothing and slightly too much. The pressure of water on your skin registering at a higher intensity than it should. You've stopped trying to explain this to people. The explanations require more energy than you have before 8 a.m. You take your medications. The list has changed over the years, adjusted, added to, reduced, reconsidered. Managing fibromyalgia pharmacologically is less like following a protocol and more like a long, slow negotiation between your body and the available options. Some things help slightly, nothing fixes it. You've made your peace with the difference between help and fix. You eat gently, carefully. Certain food that worsens symptoms for reasons that aren't fully understood, even by the researchers studying this. You've kept a food diary. You've identified your patterns. You've stopped eating several things you used to enjoy. It's 8:30 a.m. The day hasn't started yet, and you have already made 15 careful decisions in service of simply existing in your body without making things worse. Here is what people don't see. They see you at work, competent, present, contributing. They see you at social events, smiling, engaged, apparently fine. They see you on the good days or the managed days, the days where the pain is at a 4 instead of an 8, and the fog is lifted enough to think clearly, and the fatigue is bad but survivable. They don't see the calculation behind every single one of those appearances. Fibromyalgia patients often describe an invisible performance of normality that costs more than the activity itself. The meeting that required 3 hours of rest before and after. The dinner out that meant spending the following day in bed. The work week that was survived by ruthless energy rationing. Every non-essential task abandoned so that the essential ones could be completed. This is called pacing. It's one of the primary management strategies, and it requires a level of constant self-monitoring and forward planning that is exhausting in its own right. Your colleagues know you have something. They're not sure what. The explanation takes too long and lands too softly. Widespread chronic pain doesn't communicate the reality the way broken leg. Visible injuries get visible sympathy. Invisible conditions get polite uncertainty. You've stopped offering the full explanation at work. You give people the short version. You manage their discomfort about your condition so that your condition doesn't become an uncomfortable topic. You do this while managing the condition itself. Some days that's almost funny. Fibromyalgia doesn't stay level. It has baseline days and it has flare days, and the distance between them can be significant and brutal. A flare can be triggered by stress, by poor sleep, by overdoing it physically, by weather changes, by illness, by nothing identifiable at all, which is the most destabilizing kind, because if you can't identify the trigger, you can't protect yourself from the next one. During a flare, the baseline pain, already present, already managed, amplifies. The ache becomes a burn. The sensitivity becomes something close to agony. The fatigue stops being tiredness and becomes a physical weight, a heaviness in every limb that makes the concept of standing up and walking to another room feel like a serious undertaking. The fog descends completely. Words disappear. Conversations become difficult to track. The simple cognitive tasks that you perform automatically on ordinary days require conscious, laborious effort on flare days. And you cancel things. You cancel things and you feel guilty about canceling. And then the guilt and stress worsen the flare and you have to cancel more things. You've lost friendships to this cycle. Not dramatically. People don't storm out. They just gradually stop inviting you to things because you've said no too many times. And the quiet flow is its own specific grief. The hardest thing about fibromyalgia is not the pain. The pain is hard. The pain is constant and relentless, and it reshapes your life around its demands. But the hardest thing, the thing that sits under all of it and never fully resolves, is the not being believed. Fibromyalgia patients frequently report that their suffering is dismissed or minimized by doctors who can't find the evidence on a scan, by employers who can't see the illness, by well-meaning people who suggest they try harder or think more positively or consider whether the problem might be psychological. The suggestion that it might be psychological is complicated. There are psychological components to fibromyalgia, as there are psychological components to every chronic pain condition. The nervous system and the mind are not separate systems. Stress affects pain. Trauma affects pain. Anxiety affects pain. None of this means the pain isn't real. But the word psychological has been weaponized so consistently against fibromyalgia patients that hearing it from a clinician now lands less like an insight and more like a dismissal. You've learned to advocate for yourself in medical settings, to use specific language, to arrive with documentation, to push back calmly when something is dismissed without adequate examination. This is a skill set you didn't ask for and shouldn't need and have developed because the alternative was continuing to be dismissed. The grief underneath all of it is the grief of the before, the version of your life that existed before the diagnosis, or more accurately, before the symptoms made themselves undeniable. The career trajectory that shifted, the physical activities that became impossible, the spontaneity that quietly disappeared. You don't get that back. You get a different life, a smaller life in some dimensions, a deeper one in others. The community you've found, the self-knowledge you've developed, the specific resilience of someone who has managed something invisible and real for years without external validation. But you don't get the before back. Careers restructured around symptom management, relationships strained by canceled plans and invisible pain, and the exhaustion of explaining, the financial cost of ongoing medical care, medications, therapies, adaptations, and the cumulative weight of being doubted, of having to prove something that you live in your body every single day, of navigating a world that still debates whether your condition is real while you are in it, managing it, surviving it. World Fibromyalgia Awareness Day exists specifically because the condition remains underdiagnosed and misunderstood, a platform for advocacy, community support, and solidarity. The Sparrow Fibromyalgia Spiro is the engaging innovator and user community mechanisms helper, a platform for advocacy, community support, and solidarity. The Sparrow Fibromyalgia Spiro it's because the people who need that solidarity number in the millions. The day is done. You've made it through another one. Not gracefully, not without cost, but through. Tomorrow, the inventory will begin again. The careful morning negotiation, the managed performance, the pacing, the planning, the endless quiet work of living in a body that requires more management than most. But here, right now, in the quiet of an evening that belongs to you, you are not dramatic. You are not weak. You are not imagining it. You have a real, neurologically measurable condition that has been doubted and dismissed and argued about for decades, and you have managed it every single day with a level of invisible competence that most people around you will never fully see. The debate about whether fibromyalgia is real continues online. In your body, there was never any debate at all.